Alrighty, we're live. If anybody, when you get on, if you could let me know if you can hear me. It looks like my audio is working. Um, Facebook here and see. Looks like yes, I'm live. Yay! I need another device. Can't keep time and watch the screen at the same time. Actually, maybe I can. Not. Hey Jen, how are you? Getting ready to get started in a couple minutes here. I'm going to try, I don't know how to do this. I need my full screen, but I don't have a full screen. Guess I'll just have to look down every once in a while to check on the time. I got well, here it is, 1:58. Fantastic. Me too. Me too. Russian. We just walked in the door. Got a lot of information to cover. You're one of those people that I gave a little hint to what we were doing, and you got a little bit of an idea of some of this. Actually, yesterday, I think, was it yesterday? You got quite a bit of this, but I've got a more detailed list, and I'm going to go through this. So for those that are tuning in, I can't see how many people are on. I don't know why it does. Oh, yes, it's 3 people are watching. Okay, awesome. So whoever the other 2 are, let me know you're in here. We're going to start in 1 minute. I don't know if you saw my post earlier. We stumbled across a book written in 1958 that was eerily prophetic. It's absolutely impossible for the author to know what awaited us in 2024. And yet, and so what we're going to do is we are going to blow your mind. Hi, Tiffany. And open your eyes. And we are going to delve into the revelations that are in this incredible book. And more importantly, we're going to explore actionable steps that we can tackle, steps to tackle the challenges. And Christopher just messaged me. Hello, Christopher. Hello, Dawn. Awesome. All right, we're going to get, it's 2 o'clock, so here, at 4 o'clock Eastern, we're going to get started. So what I want to do is I want to go through this. This is 50 tenets of this piece of prophecy that was written back in 1958, which there was no way in hell they could have known what was going to happen today. Hey, Jim. But yet this book was written with the understanding of what would have to take place in order to, I'm going to use my own words. Hi, Susan. To put you in prison. And I don't mean behind bars prison. I mean a prison to your job, a prison to your employer, a prison to the 9 to 5, a prison to your taxes, a prison to you got to go to work every single day and you don't have any choices. And if you're really, really, really lucky, you can get 2 weeks paid vacation and you can actually take time off, which most people take staycations now. They don't take vacations because most people can't afford them. And here's the thing. My grandfather raised 12 children on one salary. My grandmother didn't work, so it was just my grandfather. He was a carpenter. Hi, Jan. He was a carpenter. He raised 12 children and a wife, bought a home and a car, and put a couple of the kids through school on one salary. And this was back in the 70s. Today, can one salary as a carpenter take care of a family of 13, 14, 13, 12 kids and 2 adults? No way, no how. And yet we're making more money than ever. So we're making more money, but yet we're falling further behind. And part of that is this prison that I'm talking about. And it is the prison of the matrix, which is, and we can get into this sometime if you guys want to delve into it a little bit. Well, in fact is, if you're really interested, go to path to the number 2 freedom. Hey, Dave, path to freedom.info. We schedule, don't do it now because we can't do it now, but when we get done with here, if you'll put that on your list, and it's a webinar, financial freedom webinar, and it's going to talk about a lot of the stuff that's happening with the matrix that's making it where it's harder and harder and harder just to keep up. But there's something that's bigger that's happening, and it was what this book was about, and that's what I want to dive into. 1958. The premise of the book was how will Americans imprison themselves? And the basic tenet is that they will imprison themselves by adopting socialism and communism, or different versions of that. Now, they didn't know what it was going to take. Yeah, debt, Dave, but why do we get in debt? Many people are getting in debt just to pay the bills, just to keep their head afloat. It used to be just to buy nice things. Nobody's borrowing at 21, 26, 30. I saw this credit card up to 32% to buy a new car. No way. You're going to pay 4 times, 5 times what the car's worth. It'll be wore out by the time, and you'll never get it paid off. So how do we imprison ourselves? Well, this book was a roadmap of what would have to happen to get us in a position where we would imprison ourselves. And so I'm going to go through these, and these are the 50 tenets that I pulled from this book. That there's probably 48, because I think 2 of them kind of repeat themselves a little bit, and I hadn't had a chance to revise the list. But I'm going to go through all 48 of these, or all 50 of these, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how do you stop that machine. Number 1 tenet to is ideology infiltration. Ideology infiltration. And what is ideology infiltration? It is penetrating all of the sectors of society with this socialist ideology. Okay, and how do we penetrate society? Well, we're going to get into that a little bit further in some of these others, but that's its basic first step is first of all, we have to penetrate this ideology. We have to infiltrate it into all sectors, promoting this idea of socialism or communism, which are kind of one and the same these days. The second one is take control of our education system, and not just control it because they've always had control. They actually created it, and they created it to make good little workers, but also to dominate the institutions and to instill these socialist type ideas. And it goes into a lot more detail. I'm just hitting the cliff notes, guys. And this is what's happening. I got 2 older daughters that I don't even talk to now because they've been indoctrinated through education, through higher education. They've been indoctrinated into this idea of socialism. And it's not that we have different opinions. We have different opinions. I don't care. I don't care who you voted for. But yet they have a problem with it. And so that is because of the control of our education system. And let me know if some of this sounds familiar to you. How about this? The promotion, I wrote it this way. You might write it a little bit different. How about the promotion of atheism, or advocating atheism, or weakening the religious influences? To downplay that. It's not that important. And I'm going to say something right here. I'm a little bit guilty. And I'm a little bit guilty because I've played softball emotionally with people. And you're going to see how this all ties in. When I tie this in all at the end, and I talk about how do we flip this on its head, and so I have to take a little bit of responsibility for this. Not that I was promoting atheism, but that I was not standing strong on spiritual values. I was just like, live and let live. And, I got my beliefs, you got your beliefs, rather than putting out there your strong beliefs, regardless of what people thought of you. And part of that was because I was in the music business and, got to keep working on stuff. How about, here's another one. Control the media. Control of the media, manipulating media and shaping public perception. Now, remember, this is in 1958. So this is Walter Cronkite days. This is back in the day. This is, the hell. But controlling the media. Do we have any controlling of the media going on now? I'm sorry, I can't see the chat because I'm too busy trying to, I don't have a big enough screen. So controlling the media was another one. Infiltrating the government, placing sympathizers in government positions. I know that sounds like a grand idea. It sounds awesome. Oh, we want to have people with sympathy. Oh, we want to have people with empathy. We want to have people that are looking to solve the problems by providing education and helping people up, not by providing programs that keep them down. And what we end up with is we have people that are the weak controlling the herd. And we're the only species on the planet that does that. And what it does is it brings the whole herd down rather than how do we lift everybody up. And those of you who follow Don and I know we do not sugarcoat the truth. We throw fucking sauce on it. But the thing we are about is, Don says this all the time, I am not here to hold your hand. We are not handholders. What we are is we are empowers. And so the goal should not be to bring everybody else down. The goal should be, how do we reach up? I said this today in our mastermind. We don't give handouts, we give hand ups. And so what we should do is have leaders that put in programs to help empower the people that need lifting up, not to drag everybody else down. So infiltrating the government was another tenet. Centralization of credit, establishing centralized control over financial system. How many of you have heard of the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, which they are working on feverishly? It was supposed to come out last July, but they weren't quite ready, and they're still not, but they're working feverishly to come out with that. Centralizing the economy, the centralized financial system. Now, this was written back in 1958. I don't know how they're going to do it, but this is what would have to happen if you wanted to imprison people. How about this one? For those of you, Susan Snyder, I know she lives in California. My mother still lives in California. How about heavy progressive income tax, implementing a progressive tax system for wealth distribution? And that doesn't mean wealth distribution of taking the money from the rich and giving to the poor. It means saving the money for the rich, taking the money from the middle class and giving to the poor is what that means. That is progressive income tax, and that's what California is among the worst, and so is New York. So this is how you lock people in prison. You get them into a financial prison. Abolition, sorry about that, of inheritance. This is something they're talking about too. How do we end passing down our wealth through inheritance? Well, we increase inheritance tax and so on and so forth. That one hasn't happened yet. But remember, this book was written in 1958, and some of this stuff that you're hearing, do you think, how about any of you have heard, does any of this sound familiar to you of what's going on right now? Confiscation of property. We've seen this too. Seizing of property and centralized control. OMG. Now, I don't know how you feel, nor do I care, how you feel about Andrew Tate, or Russell Brand, or I don't know who else, but here, those are two right there, and Tristan Tate. I don't care how you feel about them, whether you like them and they're too abrasive, they're too this. I agree with probably, I don't know, 70% of what they say. I don't agree with everything they say. I think their stance on women is a little bit jacked. Like, it wouldn't work for what I want to accomplish in a relationship, but whatever, live and let live. That's like, you want to live your life your way, that's fine. But for everything that I have gone through, and I had been doing some studying on this, and people who have studied this intensely, and people that I respect, people that you know and love and respect. The only thing that they've done has been really loud against the system, and they're saying things that are empowering people, men specifically. Now, some of it's misogynistic, whatever, blah blah, of course. But you know what? You don't believe everything everybody says anyway, and you don't follow every single person, right? You take the good and the bad, but to take somebody's stuff and start confiscating their materials and properties, it's already starting, and they're not the only ones. Government control of agriculture, they're working on that. Don said I got 15 minutes. Actually, I got a little bit more than that, but not much. Government control of agriculture, I'm not even going to get into that, but I'll just say Monsanto, and I'll let you do your own research. I'm just pointing out the tenets of this book that says if you want to imprison people, these are the things you need to start implementing. Government control over labor, regulations of labor under government oversight. OMG. You guys, we're dealing with this right now because one of the companies that we work with was dealing with the government right now, government overstepping their bounds. We've actually known several companies that this is happening to. They're actually coming after all 1099 employees. So eventually, if you're a 1099er, you're an independent contractor, you're an independent, a real estate agent or a broker, or they want you working under corporations. So in the future, well, we know with AI and robotics, by 2030, over 300 million jobs are supposed to be let go. The ones that are left, they want them to be government and corporate jobs. They do not want independent contractors. So government control of labor, that's another way that you control the population. Corporate farms and regional planning. Well, that kind of went with the other one. So there's one that's that's kind of a repeat. Consolidating of farms and planning and so on and so forth. So that's actually a repeat. Let's see. Free education for all children in public schools, providing free education under government control. In other words, they don't want private schooling. They don't want homeschooling. They want everything to be under the government control. They want the government to not only to be free and for all the taxpayers to pay for it, they also want the government to create the curriculum. And that curriculum is responsible for why you're broke, why you're struggling, and why you can't get ahead. Because they did not teach you how the real financial system works. Again, go to pathtofreedom.info, path number 2, freedom. Don will put that in the chat. We do a webinar on this very thing about the curriculum that they want. They do not want you running. They want you getting just enough information to push the buttons, turn the knobs, pull the levers, and fill out the paperwork. They don't want you smart enough to build your own company, and they don't want you have the financial freedom either to do that as well. And so elimination of school control and eliminating of the curriculums that we want and giving you the ones that they want. Controlling teachers associations, this was in the book as well, influencing teachers associations to align with socialistic goals. Anybody who has anybody in college, this is really, really big right now. They're basically brainwashing the youth of today to think in this socialistic type mentality that it's good for all. Anybody who's studied any study of history knows that it doesn't work. It never has. It never will. And you may say, well, capitalism doesn't work. Capitalism absolutely works. It always has. The problem is when it gets out of control with governments wanting their control and start abusing the system, and they start setting up rules for their friends who are billionaires and the Uber money. Basically, the government and the media is the puppet strings or the puppets for the big money. And so it's called the golden rule. The one who makes the gold, the one who makes the rules keeps the gold, or the one who has the gold makes the rules in either case. How about this one? Infiltration of churches, infiltrating religious institutions, also to advance this socialistic objective. We're seeing this, and that's really easy because all you have to do is lean on the bleeding hearts, which most of us have, right? And so leaning on that and leaning it towards a force system that just will take care of everything. And what they're leaning on basically is that we know that you're too lazy to take care of this yourself, so the government will do it for you. And you're like, yeah, sure. Why? What's the problem there? No issues. Discrediting the family institutions, undermining traditional family structures. Anybody see any of that going on? Encouragement of promiscuity and easy divorce. Anybody seeing that going on? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on all of these. Emphasizing the need to raise children away from the negative influences of their parents. This is, I didn't write this. I'm just giving you the tenets of this book. And what they're saying is, how would we, and I'm not even saying any of this is happening. Do you guys think any of this is happening? That's the question you got to ask. Emphasizing the need to raise children away from the negative influence of their parents. Advocating state control of child rearing. State planned economy. We kind of talked about that, implementing a centralized economic planning. We kind of went over that a little bit. So I guess we're down to 47. Prohibition of gun ownership, restricting private ownership of firearms. And what we're seeing is, oh no, you still have the Second Amendment right. You have the right to own and bear arms, unless it has bullets, or unless it, is whatever, unless, and what they've done is they just continue to amend, unless it's on a Sunday, unless, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm all about gun control. In fact, I think they should start with the criminals, kind of like a test program. Get all the guns out of the criminals' hands first, and let's see, kind of as a test program, how that works. So that would be another way to start imprisoning the population, is take away all their guns. Control over judiciary, influencing the judicial system to serve in social interests or a socialist interest. Eradication of nationalism, suppressing nationalistic sentiments. What does that mean? Anybody see any burning of buildings, tearing down of statues, digging, turning over monuments? These are all ways to what it is. It's how do we, and we're seeing it happening in England right now too, or the UK, I should say, as it's called. And what is it? Start building a lot of square, glass, ugly, boring buildings, something that nobody's proud of. Because if you look through history at the architecture and how many people, like not the people, but how many buildings and like if you go to Europe, especially, these buildings are hundreds of years old, like the architecture is ornate. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It was like these people had to be sculptors to build these buildings, and they take great pride in them. Well, what this means by removing nationalism is, let's start taking down all these monuments. Let's start having multiple national anthems. Let's start having multiple flags. Let's burn the flag. Let's start stripping away everything that makes you proud to be an American, or any other. But this is pertaining to the United States. It is take away people's reason to be proud. Take away their being proud of their trophy that they won in school. Take away the reasons to be proud. And this is how you start to take away this removing the nationalism, is removing that sentiment away from people, is to take away all the things they have to be proud of, right? Internationalization of trade, promoting global trade and weakening national sovereignty. We've seen this going on. Well, we saw what happened when we had a supply with oil, and we were actually a supplier of natural fuels in the United States, and we see what happens when we're not, and we become globalized. When we become globalized, what we do is we hand over the control to whoever happens to have power, the greatest power in that particular area. I'm not going to go into all that. We don't have time for all that. Creation of dependency. Establish a welfare system to foster dependency on states. Not only, this is written in 1958. He's talking about a welfare system. But it's not just that. How many different programs are there to make people dependent upon the system, upon the government system? By the way, that's what what was it? The checks that we got from COVID. My brain's kind of blank right now. So anytime we start to become dependent on the system, and by the way, that's what this UBI is. If you've not heard of that, look that up. Thank you, Don. Stimulus checks. Look up UBI, Universal Basic Income. So when we have this loss of 300 million jobs by 2030, what are we going to do? Well, the government's going to take care of you. Don't worry about it. You're going to be good. And that sounds like awesome on paper. And for the first 6 months, it's going to be pretty awesome, right? You're going to get paid to do nothing. Go play golf and go fishing. But it's not going to be that much. And so unless golfing's free and fishing's free, well, it's pretty cheap. But at some point, you're going to get bored. Oh, not me. I'd never get bored of that. Well, okay, let's see. I predict we've already seen during COVID, what happened to the mental health in the United States. In the world, it started declining rapidly. So make people dependent upon the system. And now you have control. Because now they control you. Control of the medical care system. I'm not even going into that. Nationalized healthcare to control citizens' health. We've seen that as well. I got to get through these. I'm running out of time. Infiltration of labor unions, infiltration of political parties, capture of intellectual property. Oh my God. You guys probably don't know what's going on in China and what China has done they're stealing our intellectual property. Guess what? When we moved more to a socialist type of government, our own government will steal our own intellectual properties, and it won't be difficult to do. And they'll control the money, so they'll have the power to do that. And we don't have time for that class, but anyway. Use of mob psychology. Anybody seen any of that? How would you use mob psychology? Utilizing mass psychology to manipulate public opinion. You know, internet didn't exist back then? Internet didn't exist back then. Are they using that now to encourage popular opinion? You doggone right. What else? My screen just moved. Elimination of class distinction, eradicating class distinction by promoting equality, create class wars. And so rather than what Don and I do, study billionaires, like I said, you got to go to our Path to Freedom webinar. I'm running out of time. I got 5 minutes. I got to get through this. I'm telling you guys, for anybody who's pointing the finger and blaming the rich, and I don't mean the few elite narcissists at the top. There are those, but there are also some really good people at the top too. And so there is a battle between good and evil, and they're using money as the tool to use both. The thing is, you can either sit there and complain and bitch and whine and moan and point fingers at the government and point fingers at the right, point fingers at the rich and point fingers. And you know what? Let's say you're right. How's your life now? Now that you're right, you feel better? Is your bills getting paid? Are you making more money now that you're right? No. So what happens is we bring everybody down rather than learning from the wealthy. And so that's what Don and I do. We study billionaires. And so what you want to do, and this is what I was talking about earlier, is like you want to empower yourself. And this is going to go long. Let me get through this. Control over capital. That's similar to financial control. It's controlling the financial institutions. Actually, they're controlling you. Infiltration of foundations. This is, we're talking philanthropic foundations. This has already happened. Use of prominent figures. Hello, Hollywood, sports teams, take a knee, blah, blah, blah. Using sports teams to push this socialist agenda. Erosion of morality. Anybody think the morals of today are different than they were 10, 20 years ago? Let's see what else. Manipulation of language, the language you use to manipulate. Now we're getting into pronouns and all that, blah, 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 blah. Promotion of environmentalism, advocating environmentalistic causes to support the socialist movement. And you're gonna have to dig more into this if you want to. And we are actually going to do that, by the way, not on here, but in our morning masterminds. The creation of political correctness. Oh my God! Creating the political correctness, creation of political correctness. I never even heard that term till a couple of years ago. This guy wrote about it back in 1958, establishing norms to suppress dissenting views. Wow. Encouragement of class warfares. We talked a little bit about that. Fostering conflict between the classes, not just the classes, fostering conflict between the blacks and the whites, the women and the men, the gays and the straights, the left and the right, and let's get everybody fighting while we rob the coffers. Expansion of bureaucracy, promotion of internationalism, control over transportation, infiltration of the military, promoting youth rebellion. Anybody see any of that going on? Use of mass surveillance, OMG, and control over energy resources. What happens when all cars are electric and you do something wrong and they don't want you to go somewhere or do something? Wag the dog, Dawn says. And they can just, from a computer, they can just go in, piece of software, and shut your car off and it doesn't work anymore. That's what this is all about. So I'm going to hit these real fast and then I'm going to talk and I'm going over. Sorry. Going to have to just bear with me. So does any of this sound familiar? Ideology infiltration, control of education, promotion of atheism, control of the media, infiltration of the government, centralization of credit, heavy progressive income tax, abolishment of inheritance, confiscation of property, government control over agriculture, government control over labor, corporate farms and regional planning, control over education, free education for all children in the public school system, to create guidelines under government control, elimination of curriculum as towards socialistic ideas, control of teachers associations to align with socialistic ideas, infiltration of churches, discrediting the family institutions, encouragement and promotion of promiscuity and easy divorce, emphasizing the need to raise children away from the negative influence of parents, state planning, economy, prohibition of gun ownership, control over the judiciary system, education, eradication of nationalism, internationalization of trade, creation of dependency, control of the Medicare system or control of medical care, infiltration of labor unions, infiltration of political parties, capture intellectual property, use of mob psychology, promotion and dependency on the government, control over judiciary system, shaping public opinion, eliminate class distinctions, control over capitalism or capital money, infiltration of foundations, use of prominent figures, erosion of morality, manipulation of language, promotion of environmentalism, creation of political correctness, encouragement of welfare, promotion of internationalism, expansion of bureaucracy, control over transportation, infiltrate the military, promotion of youth rebellion, use of mass surveillance, and control over energy resources. Now, I don't know how you feel about that. When I saw this, it blew my mind. I'm like, this is going on right now. That's what's going on right now. I am absolutely blown away. Here's the thing, guys. We can all solve this. The first thing to recognize is that we have a serious problem, and that is that number one, I'm going to make this really short. My close is going to be real short, and we can go more into this other stuff next week if you want, but I'm going to say this. The reason why this has happened is because I believe, without getting into too much detail, what we have done is we have emasculated men through nobody's fault. It is people of my age. I'm 61 years old. Men of my age, we grew up seeing a different time. And we saw where masculinity was abusive in some cases. It was, do as I say, don't do as I do. And hopefully we learn from these mistakes. But we swore that we were never going to be that way with our wives. And we saw what was happening to our mothers, right? And so we got really soft and sensitive. If you don't believe me, listen to 70s radio, 70s music. We became really soft and nice and did not stand up for what we believed in, because we wanted to keep the peace, thinking that it was going to make the marriage last longer. And what we found is that, did divorce go down? No, it went up. And what happened is little girls grow up thinking, I'm not going to put up with that shit from my man, a whole blah, 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 blah. And so the women became really strong. The men became really weak. And we didn't think we were weak. We thought we were just being nice and quiet strength and all that. And so with everything that's been going on, we got a little bit softer and a little bit softer. We didn't want to be so abusive. And this is why, this is one part I do agree with Andrew Tate. And that is, we became so soft that we got so soft we didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And so now when things are being said or done that we think are just absolutely insane, like this whole trans movement. If you want to dress if you're a man and you want to wear a dress, I don't have a problem with you. I don't care. Where I have a problem is when, well, first of all, let me say this. I'm not mad at you. I don't dislike you. I don't have any use for you, but or need for you or desire to be around you. Why? Because I think you're mentally need help. Now you may think I'm absolutely wrong, and guess what? That's your opinion, and you're entitled to have it. In fact, it's interesting in public eye. You're allowed to have your opinion, but I'm not. You can have your opinion and think I'm an ass, but I'm not allowed to have my opinion. I think you need mental help. To wear a dress and a women's man going in a dress, or not even a dress. There was a story about Planet Fitness going in and a man shaving in a towel, and there's a little girl in the room. Like it's mental illness. But see, what's happened is we have been so yielding and so don't want to upset anybody, so don't want anything. And why do we do that? It's because we want to be liked, and we don't want to be made fun of. We don't want to be called mean names. We don't want to be called misogynist. We don't want to be called racist. We don't want to be called transphobes. We don't want to be called all these ugly fucking names by these people. But if we say that we don't agree, then all of a sudden, we're the bad guys. And what's happened is society's gotten out of control. And so this book really points out where we're at. And so I'm going to say this. My close is this. I believe as the head of your family, I'm talking mostly to men, but not necessarily, that you have, and so you know that I'm not pointing fingers, because I have, this is an awakening that I've had. I believe that we have the responsibility to be as strong and healthy and fit as possible. I have not always done that. I have done it off and on, but I didn't realize the importance of it. You have to be strong. I believe you have a responsibility to be as wealthy and successful as possible. I think you have a responsibility to be as smart as possible. These are I think they're the three things that every child should learn, because, and women as well, little girls as well. Why? Because unless you're smart, unless you can take care of yourself, to some level, unless you have confidence, you're going to constantly yield. And what ends up happening is what we have seen is more and more control is being handed over to the government, and that's more and more imprisonment. And this book actually spells all of that out. And this is what he said in 1958. And I would say that about 95% of everything on that list is like, what the hell? That is exactly what's happened. And so I know this is like a really heavy topic today, but I think it's really important. And I just want to say to you guys that if you need help, Dawn and I also opened up the morning mastermind to everybody. Anybody who, and I'm going to work on something tonight. We're going to post something. Don't do anything yet. Wait till tomorrow. I'm going to post a video. Dawn, we recorded her in one of our masterminds. I'm working on it right now. We're going to release this video. I want you to watch this video. If after watching this video, if it doesn't light a fire under your ass, if it doesn't wake you up, if it doesn't grab you by the boo-boo, if it doesn't just slap the shit out of you to stop playing small, to live to your potential, to start making some massive radical changes in your life, then you're dead. Your body just doesn't know it yet. And so I'm going to post that video. I'm going to try to do that tonight or this afternoon. I want you to watch that video. If that video grabs you like it grabbed us, we were laying in bed yesterday watching it. This happened a few months ago, this talk that we had a few months ago, and we're laying in bed and we're both wiping the tears out of our eyes. If it grabs you, then I'll put some information, some links. So you guys, if you want to get into our mastermind, this has been closed for 3 years. We have just opened it up for anybody who wants it. It's been opened for the last week. But we decided we wanted, with everything that's going on with Dawn and I and what's going on in the world, we want to make this as accessible as possible. It can't get too big because then it starts slowing everything down in our teaching and all of that. But right now, for a limited time, I don't know how long it's going to be. We're going to see. It's half price. The people who are in that mastermind, Susan is in our mastermind. We didn't mention that this morning, but it's going to be half price. If you want to know about that, then get with us tomorrow. In the meantime, watch that video that we're going to be posting, and then just follow the links. It will show you how to get in the mastermind if you want to know. We'll talk about the pricing and all of that, what you get and how it works and why that's so important. And in the meantime, went over 10 minutes. Sorry, I kind of knew this was going to go long, but this is so important to get this information out to you guys. And with that, we got to hop on our happy hour call. And now I get to go get the heaviness off of me and go lighten up and have a glass of wine and eat some salami, and we're going to do some celebration. Love you guys. Thank you for joining me on this. I hope that this has educated you a little bit. I hope it's got you thinking a little bit. I hope it's like, whoa, 1958, this was all written, and this stuff is happening right now. And I think the only way we stop it is to become as smart as we can, to be as wealthy as we can, and to be as strong and fit as we can, so that we have the confidence to speak our truth, to stand up and not be afraid to hurt feelings. And if they get their feelings hurt and they call us names, oh, well, that's them. That's not us. I love everybody, even the people that need help. So, and I know that sounds condescending. It's not. I mean that sincerely. So anyway, love you guys, and we will talk.